If ETs roll up on us tomorrow and be like,
We wanna chat with the Earth bosses.
you're all gonna think big-headed politicians will pull up. But who said humans got dibs on repping our rock? Cause we are the brainiest, but like, why would aliens even care about how smart we are? What if ETs only care about size? Mr. and Mrs. Alien might be these huge beings, right? And they'd be like, humans, psh, you're all just tiny nothings. Kinda like how we don't give a hoot about flies, so the real top dogs on Earth might actually be ostriches, the largest birds in the world, reaching almost 10 feet high and 330 pounds, capable of breaking your bones with devastating kicks if you mess with them. The marine crocodiles. These massive reptiles are hella long, like over 20 feet long and weighing in at 1,100 pounds. They straight up send 500 people to the afterlife every year as they slither between India and Australia. Giraffes. Them tall beings like 20 feet tall with necks almost 6'5" long. They look majestic as hell, but don't get it twisted. They can get violent when they beef with each other. And get this, their babies come out of the womb already 6'5". The giant squid. They some straight up monstrous predators that lurk in the deep dark depths of the ocean. They're over 50 feet long, which is almost as long as a freaking bus. And get this, they're known to throw down in some bloody battles with sperm whales who can grow up to 45 feet long. Insolence gets paid in cash in these fights. The blue whale ain't playing around when it comes to size. These bad boys are straight up the biggest animal to ever exist, coming in at a massive 100 feet long. That's like a 10-story building, man! And get this, it weighs in at a whopping 200 tons, which is like a fucking mountain of potatoes. And its tongue? That thing is almost 3.3 tons, as heavy as a utility van. Can you even imagine that? It's obviously the boss of the planet when it comes to being gigantic. Ain't nobody messing with the blue whale, that's for damn sure. What if ETs only care about numbers? If we're talking about straight up dominating a planet, it's all about the number of rowdy individuals. Humans need to shut their traps about their weak population of 8 billion useless peeps, cause the chicken squad got them beat with a massive 33 billion heads. That's just like 4 times more than us. And don't forget about these other tiny players holding it down in the numbers game. Check it. You ever stop to think about how these whales get so damn massive when all they eat is little krill? Well, here's the deal. We're talking about a straight up insane number. 500,000 billion of these little buggers swimming around in the oceans around Antarctica. And get this, sometimes there are so many krills swimming around together that there can be 30,000 of them packed into just 1 cubic meter of water. It's no surprise that a blue whale can scarf down 16 freaking tons of krill in a single day. With numbers like that, these tiny critters are pretty much an all-you-can-eat buffet for the big boys of the ocean. Cyclothones. These tiny fish you ain't ever even heard of are straight up massive with a population of 1 million billion, which is like 1 with 15 zeros, also known as quadrillion. And these little guys are so common that you can find a dozen of them in just 1 cubic meter of ocean. They ain't as thick as krill, but they're spread out all over the dang place. Just think about how many of these things must be swimming around in all the oceans and seas on the planet. Multiply by 10 and you get the termite population. 10 quadrillion. They are eating up all the wood in our homes and closets, which is whack. But then on the flip side, they build these massive nests out in the deserts, and let me tell you, these little bugs are straight up like the ultimate rival of the first character on this list. They're everywhere, and they're straight up ruthless when it comes to destroying our homes. Ants be the most common critter on the planet, with a population of 20 quadrillion, or 20 million billion. And let me tell you, if these ants decided to get all up in our races, each of us humans would have to fend off like 2.5 million of them. And don't even think about fronting like you could handle that, because once these ants start swarming, they don't play around. They'll keep sending more and more of their crew to chomp on you until you get straight up wrecked with bites all over your face. Trust me, we don't want none of that. Note, I ain't talking about no microbes and bacteria with numbers so big you can't even say them without getting a sore throat. Let's just leave that topic alone, alright? What if ETs only care about muscles? Basically, the top dog is the one who can lift the heaviest rocks. And let me tell you, in this game, humans ain't got nothing on hippos. These big boys might look slow, but they weigh a whopping 4,000 pounds and can run at speeds over 20 miles per hour, which is faster than most of y'all. They can even pick up crocs like it's no big deal and toss them around like a bloody game of volleyball. And the croc ends up with a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Tigers are so muscular that they can die while still standing. Their paws are so deadly that that they can keep them propped up even when they're already kicking it in kitty heaven. These killers can tip the scales at over 660 pounds, and their 10-foot bodies are pure muscle with just 7.7% fat. And let me tell you, each swipe of those paws is so fierce that it can snap your bones and take you out in a flash. Tigers can even lift prey that weighs 1,100 pounds and then tear into it with savage ferocity. Bears are straight up beasts, especially the big boys like polar bears and grizzlies. If they decide to take you out, you're in a world of hurt. One swipe of their paws and they can chop a 1,300-pound moose's head clean off, turning it into a fancy steak tartare. And like tigers, they can drag prey that weighs up to 1,100 to 1,300 pounds with just a flick of their nose-picking fingers. These land predators are no joke, so watch your back in the hood. African elephants are on a whole nother level of massive. They weigh in at a whopping 13,000 pounds and can hurl themselves at speeds over 25 miles per hour when they're dealing with some fools who deserve to get their skulls smashed in. Able to drag stuff that weighs a whopping 10 tons. That's like 130 humans. They're the biggest land mammals on the planet, so don't even try to step up to them. We can't talk about powerful animals without mentioning whales, especially the Big Daddy blue whale. This beast can launch its massive 200-ton fat ass and blast off at almost 20 miles per hour when it needs to catch a breath. If a car hits you at 20 miles per hour, you got a 10% chance of kicking the bucket. But a car is just 1 ton. Imagine getting slammed by 200 tons of pure whale power at that speed. You'd be straight up obliterated, gone in a flash. That's what we call the most powerful animal on the planet. No question. Bonus. Don't sleep on the dung beetle, cause it's the baddest animal in the game. This little homie can lift over 1,000 times its own weight. That's like a human hoisting up 70 tons or 15 tractors. Don't underestimate these small but mighty creatures. They're the definition of strength. What if ETs can live everywhere? We could have easily spouted some bullshit by saying humans are the priority, but let me tell you, one hit of global warming, a nuke going off, or some crazy hot temps, and boom! Humans are done for. Our existence is on thin ice, but life itself ain't going nowhere. Even if a nuclear winter hits, cockroaches and rats will still be kicking it while humans drop like flies. Same goes for climate change. These critters can handle anything and adapt like champs. Way better than us, even with all our fancy tech. Here comes the big boss of the block. Throw him in boiling water, deep freeze him, drain his body dry, drown him, hit him with radiation that would wreck us in no time, even take away his O2, but nothing works. The real king of adaptability, the tardigrade, comes out on top every time. It ain't even a question. This little guy could easily rule the whole damn planet. Tardigrades are chilling everywhere, no matter what the deal is. You could launch them into space. No protection from deadly radiation, no food or O2, and they'd still be alive and kicking. For these little guys, dying from something so trivial is for the weaklings. For real though, put them in a super cold scientific freezer at minus 130 degrees Fahrenheit for years, then thaw them out, and in just 20 minutes they're back to living like nothing ever happened. Same goes for hot steam at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. What a talent, right? What if for ETs, the one who kills the most dominates? These aliens might just be some savage dudes who get off on hating on and making the weak suffer. I mean, humans kill like 70 billion animals every year just for food, not even including fish. Yeah, you heard me right. You might think that humans are the top dogs when it comes to being killers, but that ain't the truth. Listen up. These legionary ants with their armies of angry mandibles build colonies with millions of members, and each colony goes through 100,000 animals every day, slapping, killing, and straight up devouring them. Yeah, you heard me right. A colony of army ants goes through 100,000 insects, spiders, and other small critters every day. Every damn day. One of these ant colonies goes on a straight up rampage in its hood, and it's a totally lopsided battle with no name. Shit gets so real that the colony has to move around a lot because it straight up levels everything in a few days. In just 1 year, this colony can annihilate 36,500,000 victims. Yep, that's 100,000 a day for 365 days. That's a far cry from the 70 billion deaths caused by humans, right? But hold up, we're only talking about one colony of legionary ants here. So let's do some crazy math. We estimate that there are 20 million billion ants in the whole damn world, spread across around 10,000 different species. Now, I'm not trying to get roasted by all the biology biologists out there, but let's say that 200 of those ant species are legionary ants. That's just 2% of all the ants in the world. Okay, fine, let's say it's only 1% instead of 2%. That still leaves us with 200,000 billion legionary ants. I feel you, math can be whack, but check this out. If a colony of legionary ants has 10 million little killer bugs, then divide 200,000 billion legionary ants by 10 million bugs in a colony. That means there are 20 million colonies of these savages out there. Now, each colony kills 36,500,000 animals a year. Multiplied by 20 million colonies, that means that legionary ants take out a whopping 730,000 billion animals every year. That's 10,000 times more than the 70 billion animals that us humans kill. You heard me right. For every one animal that we kill to eat, the legionary ants are out there slaying 10,000 of them. Maybe instead of symbolizing the angel of death with a reaper, we should just be using some mandibles instead. What do you think? What if for ETs, it's the one that's the most useful for biodiversity? We're switching things up here. It ain't about killing anymore. Nah, we're talking about keeping life in all its forms. Here are players in this category. Let me tell you about the bees. These little guys are crucial to our survival. Anyone who doesn't give a shit about their well-being deserves to be hung upside down in a spot soon to be raided by those savage legionary ants. Bees been doing their thing for a cool 100 million years, and they help keep the whole ecosystem chill by pollination like crazy. That's vital not just for nature as a whole, but for like 70% of our plant agriculture. You like breathing, right? Me too. So let me put you onto the real lungs of this planet. It ain't them trees in the Amazon, it's actually the phytoplankton in the oceans that do all the heavy lifting. These tiny dudes are responsible for a whopping 2/3 of the oxygen in the atmosphere. That's the good gas you're breathing right now, keeping you alive and well. So show some love to these little homies. They're doing us a solid. On land, mushrooms ain't just for making your plates look pretty. Some of them might piss you off by popping up in your jar of applesauce or chilling on your expensive fruit. But others are doing some serious work, like providing us with penicillin that's key for treating infections that would straight up send a lot of folks to the pearly gates each year. And check this out. Fungi are killing it when it comes to recycling. They take all them dead plants and animals and turn them into nutrients that go right back into the food chain. That's some pro-level shit right there. We gotta give some love to the earthworms, man. People think they're gross, but they're way more important than their looks suggest. They do a vital job by enriching the soil with all kind of materials and organic matter, and they do it by taking a dump everywhere they go. These little dudes are like pillars of life on this planet, and it's time we start showing them some respect. So go on, next time you see an earthworm, give them a shout out and say thank you. We gotta talk about the springtails. These little dudes are responsible for like 20% of all the dead leaves that get broken down on this planet, and they are tiny. We're talking like barely half a millimeter long, but they're deep in numbers. Like there could be almost 10,000 of them on just 1 square meter of soil. They like the mushroom homies doing their recycling thing, but get this, they also got some crazy skills when it comes to dodging predators. They can project themselves up to 15 centimeters into the air.
Yikes.
That's like jumping over the Eiffel Tower without eating pavement after, because they don't get hurt from the fall. That's some wild shit right there. Let's dive into the ocean and talk about coral. These dudes are like mad important for all the marine creatures out there. They give us space for so many species to live and grow without getting chowed down on by predators. And on top of that, they're like the foundation for the whole marine food chain. What if for ETs, dry land sucks? Like 71% of the earth is covered in salt water, and if you look up, the sky just goes on and on. So why we gotta limit ourselves to talking about just land animals, right? Let me tell you about ocean creatures. Dolphins and killer whales. They're like the straight up kings out there. They got some crazy intelligence going on, and they also got a taste for straight up torturing and killing other species. And when they roll up in groups, ain't nobody can stop them. In the sky, we got some serious predators going on. The golden eagle. That dude is like the biggest boss of all the birds. It can swoop down and attack sheep or even wolves. That's some next level shit right there. And if you're talking about size, we gotta give props to the Andean condor. These dudes got wingspans that reach like 7 meters. And then you got the howler albatross, also hella huge. And get this, these albatrosses can live up to 80 freaking years. What if for ETs, being an elder is the most important thing? Hold up, don't be thinking we're the top dogs just because we got a big old brain. There are some species out there that have been kicking it for millions and millions of years, hardly changing a damn thing. And they're still here. here, looking fresh as ever. The oldest species still around is the crustacean Triops canriformis. And get this, it's still chilling all around Europe, even though it's endangered because we keep messing with its home. That's a damn shame, because this little dude has been barely changing for like 200 million freaking years. Alright, let me break this down for you in a way you can all understand. Like 20 million years ago, there was no humans, no monkeys, no rats, and no land carnivores. None of that shit. Why? We all had the same ancestors as all these mammals, before we split up into humans, rats, bats, and all that. But you know who was already living up in the water, not stressing a damn thing? Triops canriformis. That's who. Note, if you thought the oldest animals out there were the ones living the longest, then you got it all wrong. There's an animal out there that's straight up immortal, man. It's called Turritopsis dorii, but you might know it as the immortal jellyfish. Once this jellyfish hits adulthood, it's like, nah man, life is too much work, and turns itself back into a kid again. Then it grows up again and does the whole thing over and over, making it the only animal that's biologically immortal. That sucks. But in fact, and if for the ETs, those are the plants which dominate. Don't be thinking that animals with their big egos gotta be the ones on top. Plant life's got a lot to say too. About size, two huge representatives. First up, we got the Australian Posidonia, a badass seaweed that's holding it down as the biggest living organism on the planet. This seaweed bed in Shark Bay stretches out over 180 kilometers, covering like 200 square kilometers. That's twice as big as freaking Paris. And get this, it's all one single organism, not a bunch of separate seaweed beds. Next up, we got the dark armillaria, a fungus that's no joke. There's one in Oregon, USA, that's holding it down as the second largest organism on Earth, covering almost 9 square kilometers. And once again, this is all one single organism, not a bunch of little fungi hanging out together. How can we not talk about trees? Latest estimates put the number of trees on Earth at 3 trillion. That's like 375 trees for each of us humans, if you're keeping count. But here's the messed up part. Every year, we tear down 15 billion trees for stuff like toilet paper, agriculture, and just general deforestation. And we only plant or naturally grow 5 billion back. So we're losing 10 billion trees every year. At this rate, in like 300 years, we ain't gonna have no more trees left. And if the aliens come down and the trees are like, yo, these humans are messing with our vibe, you gotta get rid of them, then we're all screwed. I'm not ready to get my ass blasted with laser beams, you dig? Alright, now you know your stuff, so let me ask you this. If you had to pick just one, who do you think would be the best ambassador for planet Earth?